Hello everyone, let's plot some polar points. This is kind of a different game than you're used to. You're used to seeing like x comma y, but when we are graphing polar points, we don't use x, y anymore. We use a radius and we use an angle to specify the location of a point. So we're going to use a radius, so some length, and then we're going to use an angle. And we're going to basically just think of this like the unit circle, but we're going to say how far are you from the center, and then what angle are you using from the polar axis. The polar axis being, again, 0 degrees. Just like on the unit circle, that's going to be our 0 degrees, 90 at the top, 180, 270, 360, etc., etc. Okay, so first we'll start off with everything being positive. That's pretty easy. Then it starts to get a little weird with the negatives, but you'll be all right. So first thing, this says plot each polar point on the grid provided. To me, I think I have more success when I do this by starting at the angle and then I reference the radius. It might not matter when everything's positive, but you'll see what I mean here in a second. If this says 1 comma 7 pi over 6, what that is saying is we are on the first ring and we are at the angle 7 pi over 6. So let's remember 7 pi over 6 is down here. And what we're basically saying is, all right, the distance from the origin is 1 unit or 2 units or 3 units or 4 units. If we're starting here, this is 0, and we say we're 1 ring away from that, we're out on this ring, and the angle 7 pi over 6 is telling you to be at 7 pi over 6. So the first point right here, 1 comma 7 pi over 6, that's point A. 3 comma pi over 3. So pi over 3 is right here. And if you imagine that I were to draw, like, okay, this is 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units. If I want the third ring at pi over 3, then I'll go to pi over 3 and say 1, 2, 3, right here. That's B. If I want to go to 4 comma 3 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, let's see, this is, remember, this is 4 pi over 4, just remember. So this has to be 3 pi over 4 right there. 3 pi over 4 is in the second quadrant right here. And 4 means we're on the fourth ring. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're on the fourth ring and you're at the angle 3 pi over 4. You're on the second ring and you're at the angle pi over 2. So the second ring means I'm somewhere on this ring, and then the pi over 2 tells you, well, you're right here. So that's point D. So if you think about the angle first, pi over 2, then you can sort of count away from the origin, and that's going to help us when we start to do the negatives here. But the main idea you need to understand is we're not given an x and y, we're given an r and a theta, a radius and an angle. So what happens if the radius is negative? This is where I think it makes the most sense to, again, start at the angle. So 5 pi over 3 is down here, and I'm going to say, oh, I'm on the negative 2 ring. What does that mean? Well, if you're at 5 pi over 3, so that's like what direction you're facing, then this would be the first ring you could walk out. This would be the second ring you walk out. This would be the third ring. This would be the fourth ring. If I say negative, it's sort of like you're looking at 5 pi over 3, but I want you to turn around. So this would be following that same line segment. So I'm now like in the negative radiuses. This would be negative 1. This would be negative 2. This would be negative 3. This would be negative 4. So I'm saying face 5 pi over 3, you're looking that way, but since it's negative, I want you to go behind it. So even though we're looking at this angle 5 pi over 3, the point that we want is right here, negative 2. So that is negative 2 comma 5 pi over 3. The radius is negative, means it's sort of behind you. Pi over 6, face pi over 6, and then go to the third ring behind you. So this would be 1, 2, 3. This would be 3 comma pi over 6. This would be 2 pi over 6, 1 pi over 6, 0 pi over 6. This would be negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So negative 3 pi over 6 is right here. That's B. Because this is 1 pi over 6, 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6. Going backwards, we just extend that idea into the negatives. Pi over 2 is up here. So if I say pi over 2, this is 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 comma pi over 2, 4 comma pi over 2. So then if I want to go negative, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, this is negative 4 comma pi over 2. So what you might start to realize is I can describe the same way, the same point multiple ways. Like this is negative 4 comma pi over 2. Or you could say it's 4 comma 3 pi over 2. Those are the same point. You're 4 units away on the angle 3 pi over 2. You're facing 3 pi over 2 and you're 4 units from the circle. This is the same point as 2 comma 2 pi over 3. You're on the second ring and you're at angle 2 pi over 3. So that's the same thing as negative 2 comma 5 pi over 3. They're the same point, we're just describing them differently. Now the last thing is negative angles. So if we do negative angles, again, if you start with the negative angle, this is pretty normal. We've done negative angles on the unit circle. Negative pi over 6 just means go clockwise pi over 6. So that's the same as 11 pi over 6. And if it says 4 comma negative pi over 6, that means I want you on the fourth ring. 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. And negative pi over 6 is the same as 11 pi over 6. So you could call this 4 11 pi over 6. That'd be the same point. Negative 2 pi over 3. This is negative 1 pi over 3. This is negative 2 pi over 3. And if I want to be on the second ring, then I'm right here. So this is my point B. That's the same as 2 comma 4 pi over 3. They're the same point. One describes it with a positive angle, 4 pi over 3, and the other describes it with a negative angle, negative 2 pi over 3. So proper clockwise. One more. Negative pi over 2 is down here. And if I want to be on the third ring, 1, 2, 3, I'm right there. So this is 3 negative pi over 2. Or another way of saying that would be 3 comma 3 pi over 2. So third ring, go around 3 pi over 2. Or third ring, go around negative pi over 2. Same thing. You could make the radius negative and say negative 3 comma pi over 2. Face pi over 2 and go backwards 3 rings. 1, 2, 3. Or you could say negative 3 pi over 2, which is the most ridiculous. This is negative 3 pi over 2. So face negative 3 pi over 2 and then have the radius be negative. Whew. That's 4 different ways to describe the same point, and you could do that with any polar pair. We'll do a little bit more of that later, but right now, practice plotting your polar points, get your checkpoint done, and hit that like and subscribe.